As we enter further and further into this new decade, many people in the spiritual community believe Earth and its people are transcending from a 3D dimension reality into the 4th dimension, from a more linear, absolute way of thinking and consciousness into a collective of love and compassion. That the events of the past year have done nothing but speed up this process for some, while others will choose to stay in the 3D. There will be a great split in our society. That is not a positive nor negative thing. There is no such thing as positivity and negativity. That is 3D linear thinking. That is the essence of duality and separation, and the exact reason for making this video. To distinguish and explain the different dimensions and how I believe that the split is already taking place at this very second. The two most common dimensions of reality that people on Earth are familiar with are their waking state of consciousness and their dream state of consciousness. Waking experiences are mostly in the 3rd dimension reality, while what we remember of our dreams is mostly from the 4th dimension. There are, however, more dimensions of reality. These can be experienced through meditation, hypnosis, lucid dreaming, hallucinogenic drugs, and many other methods. But first, let's more clearly define what a dimension is. What is a spiritual dimension of reality? Each dimension of reality has a different set of laws that govern what generally can and cannot be done by an individual soul or consciousness that is in that dimension. Lower dimensions are more diverse and have increasingly stronger feelings of or beliefs in separation between forms. Higher dimensions have increasingly stronger values, increasingly stronger feelings of oneness with all forms. Although dimensions are typically defined as discrete realms, most but not all agree that they are actually from a gradual transition from one to the next. All dimensions exist at the same time and occupy the same exact space, just as different vibrations or frequencies of energy. So time is an illusion. Time is irrelevant. Everything is happening in the present moment. The past, the present, and the future is happening at this very second. That is the most common misconception of this linear 3D reality. Time is a circle, it is repetitious, it is a cycle, it is not linear. Our dream reality, for example, exists parallel to our waking reality, and we are present in each simultaneously at all times. In fact, our soul has a presence in all densities at all times. Which density or reality we are consciously in at any moment is, in part, a matter of where we focus our attention. But it also depends on what faculties or inner senses we are able to use to direct our focus. As humans, our physical bodies can normally only experience a very small fraction of the full range of frequencies that are present around us. We typically call this range of physical frequencies the 3rd dimension. We can, however, experience many more dimensions through our energy body. Overall, lower dimensions are typically described as being dense, heavy, rigid, complex, and with lower vibrations or energies. Higher dimensions are described as being light, transparent, flexible, less complex, and with higher frequency vibrations, an increasing sense of universal oneness. So everything from the 3D and lower, it's less complex, it's more duality. Everything in the 4D and higher is of one, of a love frequency, of seeing that everything is a reflection of yourself. Less ego, egoless beings. There is a confusion between the word dimension and density. Density emphasizes that the specific frequency that a being or an object is generating or displaying at any point in time. Dimensions, on the other hand, are shared realms where most beings are in the same density. So a density is referring to a singular person or entity, while a dimension is an overall collective. For example, some say that Jesus was a 7th density being during his historical time in his 3D body. This may be a very common form of reincarnation, although very few remember their higher dimensional origin. and most of the time it does not matter. The density that most beings on Earth are experiencing defines the overall dimension of the planet at any point in time. When most humans awaken to a fourth density consciousness, then Earth will become a fourth dimensional planet. Many believe that has not happened yet, and it is in transition to that. Our consciousness is able to be in any dimension that it puts its focus on, so our consciousness and mind can be in a higher density than our physical body. Bringing our physical body into the same higher density dimension, however, is extremely difficult and rare. Most of the time, when people say they are in the fifth dimension or higher, they are really talking about their mental body or consciousness, not their physical body. So they are really talking about a density, not a dimension. How many dimensions are there? Some believe there are 12 and as many as 34. Though these dimensions are derived from third dimensional mathematics and are not directly related to the spiritual dimensions. Each dimension, for example, has a lower, middle, and upper region with slightly different characteristics. The upper third dimension, Earth, is only a little bit different from the lower dimension of the fourth, dream state. All dimensions exist all the time. As noted previously, the soul or core consciousness of a being or entity has a presence in all dimensions at the same time. Despite having this multi-dimensional presence, we are normally focused on only one dimension, with little awareness of the other. Deja vu is sometimes described as the experience of more than one dimension, and many people experience this but don't know how to describe it. In essence, it is a blending of the dimensions. You feel like something has already happened in the past while happening in the present. Something could have happened to you in a dream, which is said to be the fourth dimension, and it is playing out in the 3D. In addition to shifting our consciousness, the human physical body is said to be infinitely intelligent and fully capable of shifting dimensions, although this is rare and takes a lot of practice. Most people experience alternate dimensions or realities by leaving their physical body behind and only using their astral projection, dream body, which is a lot easier to do. Each dimension is like an entire universe onto itself. They are ever expanding and vast in their content. So let's get started with the first dimension, 1D. The first dimension is the first level of consciousness. Everything here is one point. Think, for example, of what the consciousness of a rock might be like. It is also seen as the first realization of Source, also known as the I Am realization. First dimensional consciousness is pure separation, but it is not aware of separation. It simply exists separate but without an individual identity. There is also no time. Past, present, and future are all present in the one moment point. Interestingly, many of these features are similar to the highest dimensions, so all of these dimensions have similar qualities, but they are oversimplified in the lower dimensions. The first dimension is said to be associated with the root chakra, the earth element, which is focused on the most basic human needs and security as well as our identity with our planet as earthlings. So this would be associated with the Neanderthals, the cavemen, early humans that date back up to 5000 BCE, which were a first dimension root chakra dominant culture focused primarily on basic survival, safety, and community. All of these things exist in us, but we are said to be evolved into a higher level of consciousness, but we can tune ourselves to this at any time. The second dimension, or the 2D, introduces a second point, which allows the first awareness of separation, duality, and polarity. But there are only two dimensions, 2 points, so you have now and not now, the first inkling of time, this and not this, the first awareness of time, self and not self, the first form of individual identity. So time, space, and identity come into existence in their most rudimentary manner. Having 2 arms, 2 eyes in our human animal bodies is said to come from the second dimensional evolutionary influences. From the perspective of the 3D dimension, linear thinking, very simplistic, the second dimension is usually associated with the plant kingdom and lower lower animal kingdom. These have a consciousness of species identity only and live solely within awareness of the present moment. However, from the second and fourth dimensional perspectives, plants can be seen as spiritual, very powerful, and enlightened beings. Humans can communicate with plants by connecting their consciousness and subtle senses into the second and fourth dimensions. The human body is said to have a second dimensional consciousness that is centered in the lower brainstem. The second dimension is associated with the sacral chakra, the water element. This chakra is located above the pelvis and represents nurturing and growing in the birth of civilizations. Now we move to the third dimension, to Earth, where most spiritual teachers and people in the spiritual community think we are presently. The third dimension introduces a third point, which allows for the expansion, measurement of space and time, and subsequently cause and effect, or karma. The third dimension is our beloved and hated physical reality of normal human waking consciousness. There is a strong awareness of an individual separate self and the diversity of life. In this dimension, we start on the path of discovering what am I? Through the exploration of space and time. Because of the laws in play in the third dimension, there is very little awareness of the connection and oneness of things, actions, and events, and this is the biggest difference between the third and fourth dimension. It is the realization that we are all one. We are not separate. Becoming more aware of this oneness and non-duality is a major lesson to learn in the third dimension. Past, present, and future are seen as separate, creating the experience of linear time. This allows for comparisons and judgments, which leads to desires, goals, hopes, worries, fears, and all emotions, from joy and happiness to anxiety and suffering. All of these emotions keep us in bondage in this third dimensional reality. Earth is said to provide some other dimensional beings an opportunity to disconnect from their complexities of the universe, to isolate oneself, to live in their own little world. This is because multidimensional existence is largely unknown on Earth, whereas it is integral to all of the other higher dimensions. The forms of communication that we are most aware of in the third dimension are spoken in written words and languages. By comparison, telepathy is used by most other complex beings in the universe, being able to read people's thoughts. We use many other forms of communication, but we are not aware of doing that. Earth humans have the potential, however, to experience all dimensions and communicate telepathically through their higher mind or consciousness. They are limited to their third dimensional experiences by the rigid beliefs and narrow self-identities that are taken for granted as normal on Earth. Changing limiting beliefs to open up our psychic abilities is another major gateway to ascending to the fourth and fifth dimension. The third dimension is associated with the solar plexus chakra, the fire element. The fire element symbolizes transformation, and this was the spiritual energy that brought about the Bronze Age, Iron Age, and modern industrial revolution, taking us up to today. Technology, scientific rationalism, individuality, personal pride, and political and military power are all expressions of the solar plexus chakra. What we should learn from the third dimension lessons for us are that every event is a synchronicity and a positive learning opportunity, and that the present moment is all that ever truly exists. Now we move up to the fourth dimension, aka the astral or the etheric plane, 4D. It is a place that offers great flexibility to create new realities and experiences, but still has a sense of physicality, time, and a strong individualized ego, especially in the lower levels of this dimension. In the dreams we remember, for example, space, time, and objects exist, but they are less fixed and can, to some extent, be created or manipulated at will. However, fear and anxiety are also present, and so much so that the lowered fourth dimension is probably the source of our religious images. It is also common to see the fourth dimension as where we first go when we die, at least temporarily. A less common belief is that death is the only thing in the fourth dimension, that we continue our ego identity, but is a slightly more flexible reality than what we had on Earth. The third and fourth dimensions together have been called the lower creation world, where the illusion of good versus evil predominates. Time, space, good, evil, and fear become increasingly less pronounced in higher parts of the fourth dimension and in higher dimensions. For humans who are mostly focused on the 3D, They know their fourth dimensional selves through their subconscious mind. They interact with the fourth dimension through dreams, intuition, imagination, meditation, psychic abilities, magic, creativity, lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences, past life regressions, autonomic writing, journaling. These modalities either bring fourth and higher dimension experiences into the third, or they bring the practitioner from the third into the fourth dimension. Human experiences of transcendental consciousness and cosmic consciousness are ways that the fourth and higher dimensions can be experienced during part or all of a normal waking day and night in the third dimension. People who have that experience are often referred to as enlightened. The fourth dimension is often said to be the way to learn the way of love. This is in line with associations drawn between the fourth dimension and the heart chakra, air element. In the chakra model, humankind is currently in the process of shifting its focus from the third to the fourth chakra, which is the source of universal love, community, cooperation, connection, and compassion. The air element in the heart chakra brings freedom to easily move, to flow, and to be who we are, and not what others say we should be. Most of humankind is still focused on the third solar plexus chakra, but the heart chakra dominant percentage of the population is growing quickly in this period of ascension. The fifth dimension, aka the casual plane, 5D. The fifth dimension is the realm of higher level thought forms. It represents the finest and highest ideals of the fourth dimension and contains the highest versions of the fourth dimensional beings. Some say that beings in the fifth dimension are completely focused on spiritual advancement for themselves and the universe. It is also said that we continue our 3D ego identity and our cycle of reincarnations into the fifth dimension, but not beyond that. In fact, we may not even know that we just had died in the 3D life when we find ourselves in a fourth or fifth dimensional incarnation. The fifth dimension is the realm of the higher self, angels, and other spiritual guides. Most beings in the 5D have no physical bodies. They only have light bodies that are a base for our emotional and mental energy bodies. Humans moving from the 3D are said to transform their bodies into a more crystalline form in the lower fifth dimension and into a non-physical light body. Thoughts, universes, and alternate selves are instantly materialized in the fifth dimension. Desires and fears are far less pronounced, especially at the highest levels of this dimension. Also, at the highest levels of the 5D, personal timelines and other different reincarnations are all experienced simultaneously. Because of that, they can interact with each other to further their collective and individual experiences. So the fifth dimension is where we lose our physical body and all of our ego, all of our self-worth, and we become part of the collective. We become a timeless being, a pure soul, where we focus nothing on these earthly ideals and focus on only how we can improve ourselves as a fifth dimensional being, so we can transcend to even higher dimensions, to even higher densities. Many say that this sense of oneness is a common experience consciousness in the fifth dimension, but even more so in the sixth and higher dimensions. And this is what many spiritual people on earth today are hoping to experience in their lifetime as they seek awakening and enlightenment. Earth humans in the 3D primarily connected to the fifth dimension through their auric field, which extends in an oval shape at least a couple feet around the body. Many people have these abilities to see these auras around people. As we move on the fifth dimension, the use of the word higher implies that one dimension is better than the other. This is a limitation. This is a third dimensional linear thinking and communication. It is not true. Especially in the fifth dimension and higher, all realities are seen to be of equal value, purpose, and spiritual potential. One can live a happy and fulfilling existence that is free of suffering in any dimension. Many humans assume that higher dimensions mean more happiness and less suffering, but all dimensions have their challenges. Existence is always moving in the direction of alignment and ascension no matter which dimension one is in, meaning we all can improve. Doesn't matter whether you're in the third dimension, the fourth dimension, or the 10th dimension, we all can improve as a soul, as a spiritual being. The sixth and higher dimensions, aka the spirit realms, are highly debated and they can vary from person to person. The first through the fifth dimensions are sometimes called the collective dimensions because they could easily be considered one dimension due to their shared identities and characteristics and how they interact with one another, even if most embodied humans in the third dimension are not consciously aware of this. The sixth dimension and above are referred to as the spirit realms, or simply spirit. They are closer to all that is, or source, and are much less connected to physical earth embodiments. Knowing and operating from the oneness of all creation is the foundation in all these higher dimensions. Many beings in the higher dimensions never had physical bodies in any of their incarnations. A few may appear on Earth where they advise and teach first through fifth dimensional beings, but they do not identify with those they guide to the degree that the first five collective dimensions do with each other. Laws that govern what is real and not real are extremely flexible. While these very high dimensional beings seem to be perfect and flawless when they appear to humans on Earth, they too have their challenges and goals to achieve. As 3D dimensional humans, however, it is difficult, if not impossible, for us to understand these challenges faced by higher dimensional beings. Everything above the sixth dimension is open to interpretation. All of these are truths that are up to the individual person who sees them. It is not your place to judge other people's experiences and how they view other dimensions or their reality. And that is the biggest takeaway from all of this. Like our dreams, it is all about the person who experiences them. They are subjective and open to creative interpretations, and its details might very well be different for each individual person or soul experiencing them. That is what it's like in the fourth and higher dimensions. When you can create your own reality, the only limits are your own imagination. I hope this was a good summary of the different definitions and experiences that you can find in all of the dimensions, where we are as Earth as a collective, and where we are transitioning to the 4D and higher as a people, as a society on Earth. Many people don't want to leave this consciousness, this density. They want to stay in the third density, in the 3D, and that is where the big split is going to happen as a people. Not everyone is going to go. Not everyone wants to go. And it is not up to us to force people into the next consciousness, to force them into the next dimension. There is no forcing. Everything flows, is flowing. Everything is like water, as the great Bruce Lee said. Water can crash, water can flow. Water can heal, water can destroy. That is how we need to move. That is how we need to flow as a consciousness. We can't force people to want to realize their higher selves. We must let them do it on their own. Lead by an example. If they don't want to go, don't force them to go. But it is when the overall collective, the majority of people choose to go to the fourth and higher dimensions, that is when we will actually move from the third density, the fourth density, and then the fourth dimension as a collective of human beings. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys found some informative value. If you want to support me on this journey I am taking, please hit that like button and subscribe. I plan on making more videos like this 3 to 4 times a week. Some of it will be like this, spiritual information, and also I make videos on newsworthy stuff that's not really covered by the mainstream media. I have also opened a Teespring site where I sell some of my spiritual posters and t-shirts, some enlightenment posters, merchandise. The URL for that website is teespring.com/store/sensei-productions-merch. I will be providing a link in the description and posting it on the video as well. Thank you for watching. You are appreciated. I hope you have a great rest of your day and an amazing year in 2021. Namaste.